Throw hand.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello and welcome back to Rohan's Corner. And this week I'm talking about combiners. Now, you might ask, why am I talking about combiners? Well, the reason is because this year we've had a lot of War for Cybertron individual figures, and over the past few years we've had a lot of those, but we haven't had any combiners in those lines, and we haven't had any combiners since Power of the Primes. And we had this big range of Combiner Wars figures which had a lot of the combiners in there with different kind of styling or different scales for the combiners, and a lot of the third parties have picked up on the fact that Hasbro have avoided the combiners for a few years. And so there's been a lot of third-party masterpiece, legends, and deluxe kind of scale combiners coming out there, either undersized or oversized, over the last few years. If you just look at the masterpiece range, we've had so many reincarnations of Menasor now that they're starting to stack up, and now all the Legends guys are starting to do them, with Magic Square and MFT announcing theirs more recently. And if you look at Devastator in the Legends class scale, New Age and Magic Square have announced theirs. There's a Legends class Superion coming, which we've seen on the news, on the show. And from a masterpiece perspective, there's hundreds of the large combiners out there which you can scale with your Titan class figures from the Hasbro mainline. So my question to all of you is, combiners, do you like the concept? Do you enjoy the fact that you can combine multiple bots into one really large bot? And what do you think of the concept? Is a combiner a character who combines with fellow characters to create a large bot, or is a combiner someone who can combine with someone else to create a combined alt mode, like the Duocons, for example, or like some of the cassette bots from G1, and so on and so forth? What is the sort of definitive concept for a combiner? So I have my own thoughts on this. I think that characters like Reflector combine into one alt mode, and I think that's really cool. But would I classify that as a combiner? Probably not for me. For me, I classify a combiner as a series of bots that combine together to create one large super robot, almost, if you like. Not to be confused with the Unicron Trilogy's Energon storyline, where you had multiple Autobots who could combine together, two of them together, one on top the other, and create a super robot. I don't classify those as combiners. They're just sort of merging two bots together. It's not really creating a super bot in any way, shape, or form. However, if you go back to RID and you've got Rail Racer, then you've got three individual train bots who combine together to create a much larger Rail Racer combined super mode. And so it's more of a combiner, so to speak. They've got combiner weapons, they've got combiner stature, they've got combiner capabilities, compared to the sort of standard kind of two bots combining together from Unicron trilogies. The Stunticons were certainly my favourite set of combiners. I just love the alt modes and the daringness and their destruction capabilities in Generation 1. Although I can understand why a lot of people love Devastator, the construction vehicle, six bots combining, the very first combiner, if you like. And in recent years, Hasbro have tried to create new combiners like Victorion, and in the movie series from Bayverse, you've got the likes of Devastator and whatever that thing was in Age of Extinction. I don't really know, or The Last Night, whichever one it was, who cares. But combiners have become a very big thing, and even the case that the GoBots had their own combiner in the Puzzler, which was a pretty cool combiner of its own. 5 cars that combined to a large robot. It didn't have very much intelligence, but sometimes that's the case with combiners, as we've seen. And even the case that, Hasbro have been trying to create a new combiner of the Dinobots recently with Volcanicus. Personally, I don't really like the concept. I really don't like the shape and style of the combined mode from the Power of the Primes toy line of the combined Dinobots, but hey, it's another concept. It's quite cool that they're actually trying to push the boat out. Will we see more new combiners coming out, maybe some dino combiners like we had in the original Beast Wars with Magnaboss or something like that, or maybe something from a post G1 series where they're going to do something with some Generation 2 or Generation 1.5 characters where they could combine those together based off of what they've done with revolutionizing some of the original characters. Again, coming back to things like Kingdom Rodimus and the Commander class there, it would be nice if they'd had some kind of complexity to the trailer to create some sort of combined mode with the robot or something. That would have been an idea for Hasbro again. Well, that's my take. What's your take on it? Do you think that they are combiners or not? Also, what do you think about all these combiners coming out, and do you think we should be getting a new range of combiners to match in with our War for Cybertron trilogy figures? Because realistically, this is now the de facto standard for our figures in the sense of scale and in the sense of styling, and I just don't feel like the Combiner Wars figures cut it from that perspective. How do you feel about it? Anyway, for another week, this has been Rohan on Rohan's Corner. I'd like to see you again next week. Catch you then. Back to the studio.
Hey boys, we've been rumbled. Well, let's bounce.